Hi, I'm Jonathon Gilmour. I'm a co-founder of the Impact Project. So data drives our most important decisions, or at least it should. And we're facing a moment where federal data is at risk. It's disappearing. Our communities are hurting. Our decision makers don't have the data they need to make these decisions. Last year, a poll by the Association for Science and Technology Centers found that 90% of us use federal data on a weekly basis. That may sound high, but note that almost all weather data comes from the NWS, even if it's coming from a private weather provider. This is jobs data. It's data about drug safety, food safety. But only 10% of people worried, this was April of last year, that cuts at the federal level and shifting workforce decisions would imperil their access to that data. We're seeing that change. We're seeing decision makers realize that our access to this data is at risk. And we at the Impact Project are working to ensure that we have the best possible data for our decisions. A couple of problems we're seeing: eroding government accountability, stagnating research and innovation, and essential services and funding is lost. So we're a small but mighty team. My co-founder, Abby, was a career litigator at the DOJ for 10 years. She worked primarily on Deepwater Horizon. She was a law professor at Vermont Law and is getting a PhD in complex systems and environmental sociology. She's also a mom of two, so she's kind of a slacker. I lead our data and operations, and I have this weird winding career path in finding where data gaps are causing harms. So I worked at the COVID tracking project at the Atlantic. I was an advisor to the Rockefeller Foundation's pandemic prevention initiative. I wrote some first-of-a-kind water policy for the state of Utah after collecting a database of data center water use that no one had done before, because data center companies keep that data really, really close. And I'm a co-founder of the Public Environmental Data Partners. And the Impact Project is now one of the 4 partners of this organization that is working to safeguard the federal environmental data and tools that benefit all of us. So just a quick bit on the PEDP, as we call it. We've saved over 400 data sets that are at risk and highly impactful. And we've also rebuilt access to federal environmental tools like EPA's EJ Screen, CEQ's Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tool, FEMA's Future Risk Index. And the Impact Project is really proud to be a member of this coalition. So what are we doing at the Impact Project? Essentially, we're working to make essential systems more resistant to shifting political winds. We want to make sure that when an administration changes, kids don't go hungry because local foods for schools programs are canceled, or farmers aren't left with stranded assets because their solar grants are terminated, or state and local politicians have the data they need to make the most important and consequential decisions for their constituents. So far, in a little bit less than a year, it's almost our birthday, we've built powerful tools, 6 maps. This is a screenshot of the nonprofits impact map we are about to roll out with the National Council on Nonprofits. We also built a security map, a public health map, an AmeriCorps map, an office and budget map, and a federal change map, and over 100 dashboards. Abby and I both have backgrounds in environment and climate, but to give you a sense of the breadth and scope of the Impact Project, we built one of the most comprehensive data sets and visualizations of threats to America's public servants in partnerships with the Public Service Alliance. We found, and this is probably not surprising given the tenor of our political climate, violent threats have skyrocketed over the past decade. We're seeing threats to public servants from the federal level down to your local librarians. We are working to connect communities to resources that they need and support locally driven responses. So how do we do that? Our data sources are qualitative and quantitative. Our primary bread and butter is coding news data using a methodology to get the sort of leading indicator of what's happening on the ground. So long before we're seeing these changes in government or third-party data sets, we're seeing them in local to national news. So we're grabbing that, we're coding it, we're overlaying government data, third-party data, and testimonials. We've collected over 1,500 over the past year. And we overlay that with demographic data, socioeconomic data. And we're using all of this, our mapping, our data sets, our dashboards, to identify and lift up communities that are facing persistent challenges and need due to these changes. And then we're working to connect these communities with partners who can help. And we're also uplifting responses. So communities are working together and developing really novel ways of confronting these changes. And so how can we lift up those responses and connect them with other communities facing similar problems? We're building tailored mapping tools to make our data more accessible. We're building matching tools to make essential services more resilient to political change. So here we're giving gap fillers, like philanthropy, impact investors, the tools to identify losses due to federal change, and losses particularly that could benefit communities and also align with these gap fillers, as we're calling them, portfolios. And we're also giving impacted communities the connections and context they need to respond to these changes. We're building a non-government data set that can inform our community resilience and help us build back better, if you will. We know that there were systemic problems long before the current administration. And as we work to address them, we want to make sure that we have the best possible data. So in the past almost year, we've made some impact, which you would hope, given our name. So our AmeriCorps Impact Map helped power a successful lobbying campaign to restore $180 million in AmeriCorps funding. We've been cited in congressional testimony. Abby and I are both frequent interviewees on the impacts of federal change. The Public Service Alliance used a security map to advocate for better protections for public servants. And we know that congressional staff and House and Senate offices are using our data and tools. We're driving collective impact. So we're highly connected across the data ecosystem. And we built the Impact Project Data Impact Network to bring together a whole bunch of different organizations. We see ourselves as sort of the glue. There are a lot of different siloed organizations that are doing incredibly important sector-specific work, and we're working to make sure that these organizations are connected to one another and that we can all push forward and ensure that we have the best data to respond to the challenges of the day. We've had substantial impact in our first year, and we're really excited to keep moving forward. And with that, we're raising $5 million over 2 years to scale this work. And I should note that the Impact Project is raising $5 million, and the Public Environmental Data Partners, together with the Impact Project, is also raising for the environment-specific tools and data work. So if that resonates, would love to connect. Thank you so much.